Okay, so let's jump right in. The big news is the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is suing Meta.
Yeah, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, the whole family.
And the core of it is an antitrust lawsuit, alleging they've built an illegal social media monopoly.
It really centers on those massive acquisitions, doesn't it? Instagram back in 2012, then WhatsApp in 2014.
Right. The FTC isn't just saying they bought companies, they're saying it was a strategy, like specifically to kill off competition.
Exactly, to eliminate potential rivals and keep their top spot secure, especially in what the FTC calls personal social networking, sharing photos, updates with friends and family.
And part of that argument is that Meta actually paid too much for them, like deliberately overpaid.
That's the claim, that they saw Instagram and WhatsApp gaining steam, potentially threatening Facebook's dominance, and decided buying them out, even at a premium, was the way to neutralize that threat.
Okay, so if the FTC actually wins this, what happens? What's the potential impact?
Well, the really big potential outcome is that Meta could be forced to sell off Instagram and WhatsApp.
Wow. So they'd become separate companies again?
Potentially, yes. That's the remedy the FTC is pushing for. It all hangs on convincing the court that Meta's ownership has harmed competition in that specific personal social networking space.
Because the FTC doesn't think, say, TikTok or YouTube fill that same need.
Apparently not. Their argument is those platforms are different, maybe more about entertainment or public broadcasting than connecting with your inner circle.
But Meta must have a strong counter-argument. They can't be just rolling over.
Oh, definitely not. Meta's stance is that they operate in an incredibly competitive market. They're pointing fingers at TikTok, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, even iMessage, and Snapchat.
So they're saying, look at all these other options people have.
Precisely. Their argument is essentially, how can we be a monopoly when users have all these choices for connecting and sharing online? It's a very different view of the market.
And they also bring up the fact that these deals were approved way back when, right?
Yeah, that's a huge point for Meta. They're saying, look, regulators signed off on these acquisitions over a decade ago.
Why the change of heart now?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Meta believes the evidence shows intense daily competition. They're framing this lawsuit almost as the government trying to punish success and stifle American innovation.
This is actually going to trial, isn't it? We might hear from some big names.
For sure. Expect people like Mark Zuckerberg, maybe Sheryl Sandberg, potentially even the Instagram founders to testify. It's going to dig deep into the intent behind those acquisitions.
And that definition of the market seems absolutely key. Is it just personal social networking, like the FTC says?
Or is it the much broader social media landscape Meta describes? Yeah, that definition could honestly decide the whole case.
Which definition the judge accepts is critical.
Absolutely. And there's also the context that this case started under the previous administration. There's been some chatter, about whether politics plays a role in the current enforcement push.
I heard something about Zuckerberg maybe lobbying President Trump about it.
There were reports to that effect, yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to get it settled, perhaps? How likely that is, who knows?
So, putting all that together, what are the odds? What are antitrust experts saying?
Generally, they see this as an uphill battle for the FTC.
Really? Why is that?
Mostly because those deals were approved previously. It's harder to unwind something that got the green light years ago. Plus, unlike some monopoly cases where a competitor says, they drove me out of business, here, Meta actually bought the potential competitors.
Ah, okay, so it's a slightly different dynamic.
Right. The judge has to decide, did buying Instagram and WhatsApp back then actually violate the law and harm consumers by reducing meaningful competition?
A massive question with potentially huge consequences for the future of social media. And hey, if you're finding this breakdown useful, do take a second to like this and subscribe for more.
It really throws a spotlight on how we define markets in tech, especially when companies grow through acquisition. It's a fascinating clash of perspectives.
Definitely something to watch unfold. It really could change how we all use these platforms down the line.
Absolutely. A lot riding on this decision.
Well, thanks for walking us through the complexities.
My pleasure.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll be back soon exploring another force shaping our world.